Clara is in a boxing ring throwing punches at her trainer, then changing into her business attire and leaving the gym. After saying goodbye to all her jacked-up masculine gym mates, she picks up Agnieszka, who offers her a chocolate snack for the drive, but Clara refuses. Marian wakes up on his couch with the crumpled envelope in his hand from the tax inspection office. He throws the letter to the floor and answers the door. A woman, who introduces herself as Malwina's friend, is at the other side of the door, and she's here for her appointment with him today. Marian welcomes her in and shuts the door. Clara obliterates the owner of a bakery who hasn't been paying his due share of the taxes, while Agnieszka enjoys the pastries. The baker's lawyer is at a loss for words in front of Clara, who has already conducted thorough research on the case and has left no room for errors. Marian's client leaves his apartment after handing him some cash and making another appointment for next week. Clara and Agnieszka are having lunch at a fancy restaurant when Clara's boss Richard joins them, asking Clara about why she isn't with the baker. As expected, Clara totally nailed the baker, just like all the previous taxpayers she has dealt with, so efficiently that Agnieszka doesn't need to do as much as her partner. It won't be long until Clara will be promoted to become the youngest manager in the office. Richard makes a pass at her when she reminds him that she's already dating someone, unlike Agnieszka, who'd go out with him any day. Clara calls her boyfriend Auditor to share the happy news of her upcoming promotion with him. They make plans about celebrating, and Auditor lies about having a work-related appointment. She tries to be clever and meaningful toward him, but he doesn't get her reference, because they have no chemistry in their relationship. Clara gets to the predetermined location after work, where Auditor is nowhere to be seen. She calls him and he picks up from the club he is in. He totally misunderstood where she called him to come, and was dancing and drinking there. Clara resorts to having a few drinks while she waits for her cab to get to the club. Marian is also at the bar, and they start singing along to the same song. She drinks to celebrate another success, while Marian drinks like a criminal waiting for his sentence. She clarifies that she's already in a relationship, but he is confident in his skills to woo her within 10 minutes. She gets a call from her mother, who is pressuring her to settle down and have kids of her own, but she is not interested. Marian overhears their comical conversation and giggles as she keeps arguing with her mother. When Clara's mother hangs up on her, she finds Marian laughing at her. As he stands up and starts to walk away after finishing his drink, she criticizes him for failing yet again to impress another woman. He comes back and gives his direct and straightforward analysis of Clara, giving an accurate account of most aspects of her life, proving himself to be a shrewd mind reader. He assumes what her past was like, and what her future will be like, when she pours her drink on his lap in an effort to ruin his suit. It's time for Clara to leave, and Marian should pray that their paths never cross again. But he isn't worried because she is not his type anyway. Clara wakes up early in the morning the next day, and gets ready to leave for work when she notices that she is out of coffee. She angrily reminds Auditor to refill the coffee container and leaves for work, while he keeps sleeping in their bed like a lazy hag. Marian meets his niece to check up on her and his sister. His niece asks him about the black eye he has, and assumes that he got it while fighting someone over a girl. The memories of last night when Clara hit him with her briefcase come back to his mind. Marian responds that he doesn't fight over women, but his niece suggests that maybe he should start taking an interest in them. He remembers how Clara slammed her bag on his head the night before, and the barkeeper had to pull her away from him and drag her out of the bar. Marian goes to an office and gets a visitor pass, when a woman guides him into an office where he can put in an appeal for his taxes. He enters the office to see Clara and Agnieszka waiting for him, and as soon as he recognizes Clara, he turns right back around in an effort to get out. But the woman who led him in slams the door in his face, forcing him to face his tax officers. Clara identifies him and feels the power she now has as she tries to suppress the smirk off her face. Marian sits down across from Agnieszka, hoping to deal with her, but she redirects him to Clara, who has an evil and amused expression on her face. Agnieszka is surprised to see that they know each other, but Clara instantly denies this allegation. Marian mentions that Clara reminds him of someone, but Clara is in a powerful position, so she is confident that he won't pass his unwarranted guesses about her now. She hands him a form to fill out, with the warning that falsifying any evidence would lead to a 3-year prison sentence. His assets may be seized if he doesn't manage to pay his taxes in due time. He might lodge an appeal in that case, but chances are that he will lose. She gives him 2 days' time to regulate his affairs. Clara comes home, where Auditor is having his dinner. She heads straight to the kitchen and finds the coffee empty again as Auditor informs her they've run out of coffee. She inquires about his meeting, and whether he will be taking up the job, but he hasn't decided yet. Clara doesn't understand what's there to decide, because they are giving him a job he is underqualified for. Auditor knows that it's only because of his father, and doesn't want to work in a big firm. She tries to knock some sense into him when he interrupts her with the assumption that she is cranky because she might be on her period. Clara is already irritated when her mother calls her. Yet, the notorious actress Malwina trots into their office and answers all of Clara's questions promptly. Her confidence and sass make Clara uncomfortable, who doesn't understand why Malwina would only pay Marion to please her when she can have any man she wants. Marion explains that his rates vary from client to client. Clara has done her research and knows Marion's previous job, so he'll need to get more witnesses other than actresses. That night, Clara wonders what kind of man would sell his body for money as she lies in bed with her good-for-nothing boyfriend. He is no help in her thinking, and she gets even more frustrated with him. Marion meets up with a number of women to convince them to testify in his favor that they took his services throughout the last year and lie to the tax inspection office. Marion looks out the windows during one of these meetings and observes that he is being watched and photographed by Clara, who is on a stakeout to spy on Marion. Clara watches a woman named Maja go up to Marion's apartment. Marion invites Maja into his apartment and seats her in his library, making up the excuse that his office is being painted. He goes away to make tea for her, while standing in his robe on his terrace for Clara and Agnieszka to see. Agnieszka takes his pictures as he takes off his robe to reveal flashy underwear underneath. While Clara is still not convinced that Marion is a hooker, Agnieszka compliments Marion's butt. Agnieszka tries to convince Marion that she can't judge someone by their looks, because they both also don't like they're from the IRS. As Maja comfortably lies down on his couch, Marion quickly shuts his curtains and tries to get dressed. Maja hears the clutter and goes to the kitchen to check up on him, where he is fully dressed and making tea as promised. Maja laughs when Marion bends down and she gets a peek of his latex underwear. Clara meets Maja at her workplace and investigates her about her relations with Marion. Maja refuses to talk to Clara about her private business. She is planning an exotic and adventurous trip, and is not interested in talking to Clara unless she wants to come. Clara resorts to the tactic of blackmailing her by insinuating that she might find mistakes in Maja's taxes, so Maja has to cooperate with her now. Meeting with Maja helps Clara to discover that Marion makes invoices for his sessions, and she is still pretty sure that he is a coach, not a prostitute. Clara updates Richard on Marion's scam while he flirts with her as she attempts to remain fairly professional. Clara pays a visit to the house where Marion's sister Hanka resides with her children to get hold of an invoice. Clara lies about who she really is and gives off the impression that she is one of his friends or clients. She fills out a form to get an invoice, while Marion's niece gets suspicious of her, making Clara nervous. Hanka goes on to confide in Clara about how Marion helps provide for her children by issuing invoices in her name, so that the bank would stop hassling her about making mortgage payments after her husband left. Marion forcefully bought a flat from Hanka's husband and resides there now, leaving his own house to be occupied by Hanka and her kids. They serve Clara yummy food, and Hanka gives her a bag before she leaves to meet Agnieszka. Agnieszka catches her up on all the information she has found out about what Marion's invoices are about, and how he got the flat, while Clara acts innocent and surprised. Agnieszka is sure that they have won the war against Marion, but Clara feels guilty now. Later that night, Auditor skateboards around their house as she invites him to a christening to meet her parents, hoping that he'll be her escape and they'll have a good time. Auditor lets her down by making a lame excuse that he's allergic to kids' hair. Clara and Agnieszka get their morning coffee, while Clara tries to delay their ambush on Hanka. She has to buy a present for the christening anyway, where Auditor won't be coming with her, as she kicked him out last night because she got tired of his childish antics. Clara spies on Marion to watch him go into a woman's house. The woman, Alona, wants to keep wearing her bathrobe in front of Marion, but he has plenty of time and can wait for her to change into proper clothes. Clara eats a donut while waiting in her car outside Ilona's house, while she vents to Marion about her divorce, suggesting that they should repeat what happened in a previous session, but Marion isn't up for it. It's dark outside by the time Marion leaves Ilona's house, and he catches Clara dozing off in her car outside. He enters her car with a cup of coffee in his hand, offering her the details of his next session so that she won't have to work so hard on tailing him. He directs her to drive him to his next appointment after handing her the coffee, but she kicks him out of her car, before taking the lipstick from him that she forgot at the bar. She sips the coffee before testing out the shade of the lipstick on her hand. Richard catches up to her when jogging and makes an excuse to come over to her house. She makes up the excuse of having a boyfriend again, but Richard has overheard her conversation and knows that Auditor is staying with his mother. Richard points out that there is chemistry between them and hints that if she reciprocates his advances, it might improve her chances of getting promoted to a manager. Clara smiles and commands Richard to follow her. She keeps running to reach her building just in time for the door to be shut in Richard's face when he manages to catch up to her, out of breath. Clara is at a market to buy a gift for the christening when she runs into Hanka, who has a stall there. Marion walks with his niece, giving her some hope and courage that her mom's stall will be successful. He sees Clara with his family, and the smile fades away from his face. Clara keeps up the pretense in front of Hanka and her kids. Marion's niece picks up on Clara blushing, and Hanka invites Clara to have lunch with them. Marion's niece Nina is curious about why Clara needed a coach and came to Marion. She lies to Hanka that she is an accountant, and gets uncomfortable when Hanka requests her to help Marion out, because the IRS is after him. Clara heads out from the table to pick up a call from her mother, who is worried about Clara's father. Marian checks up on her, and she admits that her father has been depressed for a month. Marian offers to help out and come along with her to the christening. He can pose as her boyfriend, since she posed as a friend to his family. This is his way of bribing her, as he'll help her father as long as she helps his family avoid eviction. Marian and Clara both can't sleep all night on the train because of a man who snores in his sleep. They are getting ready to get off at the station when Marian starts asking questions about her father to understand his case better. She answers that he was promoted at work, and Marian shouldn't be open about him being a coach, otherwise her father won't talk to him. Clara and Marian rush to the christening as she awkwardly greets her family and relatives. Marian tries to initiate a conversation with Clara's father and get in his good books, when Clara goes against her own rule and tells her parents that Marian is a coach. Clara's father doesn't think so highly of counselors like him, but Marian argues that he's good at his job. Marian enjoys himself as he unsettles both Clara and her parents. He later recalls coming to this place 20 years ago to Clara. She would come here with her parents too, and they could have met back in 1996. He recalls a girl who built sandcastles in an embarrassing swimsuit, and Clara admits that it was her. Marian wants to look for Amber, which is something Clara actually really enjoys doing, but she wants him to focus on the task at hand. Nevertheless, he takes off his clothes and jumps into the sea as Clara's family watches him with varying emotions. Marian looks at an old picture of Clara at her family house, which gets her father talking about how she doesn't sing or go fishing anymore. Clara is shocked to see that even her uptight mother is warming up to Marian. Clara and her mother are overjoyed to hear the laughter coming from her father's room, where he is talking and drinking with Marian. Clara's father wants them to stay overnight, as he wants to go fishing with Marian, but Clara wants to leave because she doesn't want to share a room with Marian. On their train ride back home, Clara reminisces about the fishing trip she went on with her father. He pokes fun at her talent for singing for the fish, when she brings up how she dreamt of being a famous singer one day, but didn't make it. As Marian falls asleep on the train, Clara looks longingly at him. They are back home at the station when she sees Richard, and hides her head immediately in Marian's chest to avoid her boss. Marian inhales her sweet scent, enjoying the close proximity. Marian gets the desire to kiss her, but she runs off after making sure that her boss is out of sight. Marian gives the jam Clara's mother sent to his sister, and acts evasive when Honka tries to find out if he likes Clara. Clara meets up with Richard and informs him that it's time to put Marian's case away, as she has confirmed that he really is a prostitute. Richard is skeptical, as she was after Marian, ready to prowl on him a few days ago, and now he just wants to let him go. Clara argues that she can't deny the facts, and wants to avoid all the tedious court hearings. Richard goes through Marian's file and isn't satisfied with it, so he orders Clara to see it through properly. Clara calls Marian to alert him about the situation, as she'll have to prepare him for cross-examination, so they agree to meet at Marian's place, because it's safe. She gets there with great caution, and Marian finds her incognito outfit really funny. Marian assures Clara that his witness will satisfy all the requirements to appear credible in front of Clara's colleagues. They won't be able to see each other anywhere under any circumstances after the interrogation, for possibly up to 5 years. They both try to convince each other that time will pass easily. They both say their goodbyes to each other, and Clara walks out his door when he opens it again, and she jumps into his arms, passionately kissing him. The next morning, Marian wakes up hoping to see her in his bed, but she has already worn his shirt and is looking at his collection of books. Their chemistry is off the charts, not just right now in this morning, but from the night before too. At the cross-examination session later that day, Alona shows up to testify in favor of Marian, who narrates how Marian helped her throughout her divorce. Richard is more concerned about confirming whether they slept with each other or not, so Alona brings up a birthmark on his body that only someone he has been intimate with would know about. Clara is upset to hear this, but then she gets a call from her mother. Clara drives with Marian and questions him about sleeping with Ilona. He did it once a long time ago, and Clara starts judging him and regretting her choices. She drops Marian off on the street after conveying the news that her father gave away his promotion. Nina has an invitation to her party for Clara, but Marian points out that there's no need for it. When Marian falls asleep, Nina leaves a note behind, and sneaks out to deliver the invitation to Clara herself. When she rings the bell at Clara's apartment and discovers that she isn't home, Nina leaves behind the invitation in Clara's car. That invitation gets crammed up with other flyers on Clara's windshield, so she tries to get rid of them while driving, oblivious to the fact that there's an invitation there from Nina. She parks her car at work and catches up to Agnieszka when Richard comes across Nina's invitation still stuck to Clara's car. Clara finds Nina's invitation on her desk at work later, and wonders if Marian left it behind for her. Clara pulls up outside Nina's birthday party, where the magician has already bailed on Honka. Clara jumps in to save the day and sings a song for the kids to cheer them up. She starts singing, and Marian also belts out some lines from time to time, while Richard stands outside the house in snowfall, feeling successful for catching Clara in a lie. He confronts Clara for dating Marian, and starts misbehaving with Marian's family, so Marian throws his drink in Richard's face, and swings a punch at him. Nina smiles when she sees her uncle fighting over a girl. Clara apologizes to Honka for lying and leaves the party as Honka helps Marion up. With a concealed bruise on his face, Risser taunts Clara for rejecting him and sleeping with Marion instead in his office. Clara is going to get fired and possibly blacklisted, but she's worried about what would happen to Honka and her kids, so he suggests he could let it go if she sleeps with him. She even considers it, but he gets the satisfaction of rejecting her and rewards Clara's promotion to Agnieszka instead, with the orders of preparing a report against Marion. Auditor shows up at Clara's doorstep with roses, wanting to get back together, and Clara breaks down into tears in his arms. Agnieszka works on her report against Marion. Nina urges Marion to reach out to Clara, because it's clear that she loves him, but Marion believes that he has messed this up beyond repair. Marion tries to reason with Risser to get Clara out of trouble, but when he doesn't listen, Marion blackmails him through his wife. They reach an agreement, but Honka shows up with a lawyer and gets Marion out of trouble with the tax office. With some encouragement from Agnieszka, Marion shows up at Clara's house with flowers, but Auditor answers the door. He tells Marion that Clara is away in Sweden. Marion puts 2 and 2 together and figures out that she's on one of her childhood fishing trips with her father. Talking to her father gives Clara some necessary clarity. Marion overcomes many obstacles to board the ferry Clara is on, but can't find her anywhere. He ends up at the bar defeated when he hears her melodious voice, and looks up to find out that she's the singer on this ferry. They both smile when their eyes meet across the room. Clara ends her song, and Marion takes her in his loving embrace with a promising kiss.